Very good morning, children. Wishing you all a very happy Independence Day in advance. I'm really missing our school, and of course, you all as well. Before I start the session, I would want to let you all know that I have corrected few of your answers for the test that I have conducted. I still haven't corrected the rest yet. In a couple of days, I will correct them and will also share all your marks. Secondly, children, whatever homework I am giving, I want you all to make a note of it along with the date in the school diary. Once again, I'm repeating, whatever homework I am giving you all, please see that you all write it in the diary along with the date. And now let's get started for today's session. Are you all ready? Before I start today's session, children, I want you all to have a close look at this picture. Yes, it is the wooden horse. What does this wooden horse remind you of? If you ask me, this wooden horse will always bring a smile on my face. Why? Because it takes me to my younger days. When I was young, I was also naughty like most of y'all. And even my dad was very strict. Whenever I used to see children playing on the wooden horse, I used to come home running and ask my daddy, "Dad, please get me a wooden horse." My dad wouldn't get it that easily. I also had to cry, plead, and finally, instead of getting one, he called a carpenter and asked him to make a wooden horse for me. The carpenter took several days to make a wooden horse, and I was so excited to see him working, and I was waiting when the carpenter will finish my horse. Finally, the day arrived, and I was so happy to see that the carpenter not only made the wooden horse but also decorated it with colors. I was so happy that I thanked the carpenter and I called all my friends and showed them my new wooden horse. All my friends, instead of playing with their wooden horse, they used to come home and play with mine, and we used to have lots of fun. But those days will never come back again, right? That remains only as a memory. So I think each one will have their own story to tell, isn't it? Now, I guess you all know what is the next lesson that I'm going to teach you all. Yes, children, you all guessed the lesson right. It is the Trojan horse. Before I start the lesson, let me tell you what I will be covering in today's session. I will teach you all the lesson, the Trojan horse. Then we'll look into some vocabulary. Then we'll also look into grammar, which is today you will be learning participle. We'll summarize all what we have learned. Then, of course, it's question time. I'll ask you questions, and then the last part will be your homework and classwork. The Trojan Horse. Children, kindly turn to page 13 in your all-in-one reader, and I want you all to toss your fingers through while I'm reading. Many, many years ago, the Greeks were at war with the Trojans. A very large Greek army in no less than 1,000 ships had sailed to the city of Troy. A fierce war broke out between the Greek army and the Trojans. It went on for 10 long years. Several brave chieftains on both sides got killed, but still neither side was in sight of victory. The Greek leaders began to think of some way to put an end to the long war. The only way to defeat the Trojans was to enter the city somehow and make a surprise attack. But the city gates always remained closed. After a lot of thinking, Ulysses, the cleverest of the Greek leaders, came up with a bright idea. Ulysses called his carpenter and gave him some instructions. The carpenter began his work. He worked for 40 days inside a big tent. No one saw what he was doing. Just before sunrise on the 41st day, the tent was taken out. There stood a huge wooden horse. On these days, there was not much of fighting. The Trojans thought the Greeks had grown tired of fighting and were probably thinking of going back. Then, one morning, the Trojans saw a strange sight. There was a huge wooden horse outside the city gate. It was so big that nobody had seen anything like that earlier. The Trojans also noticed that there was no sign of life in the Greek camps. The Greek ships were also not to be seen. Slowly, the Trojans came out of their city. Yes, the Greeks had left. There was no one in any of the Greek camps. Turn to page 14. The Trojans were overjoyed. At last, the war had come to an end. "They are gone," the Trojan soldiers shouted. "We have won the war." Soon the whole city went near the enormous wooden horse. What is it for? The Trojans wondered. Why had the Greeks made it? Why had they left it behind? What were the Trojans to do with the horse? Just then some Trojan soldiers saw a Greek hiding near the city wall. They caught him and brought him to the king Priam. "You are a Greek," said King Priam. "Why did your people leave you behind?" "They are not my people," said the Greek, whose name was Sinon. "I hate them. I hate all Greeks. That is why I refused to go with them last night." Children, we'll stop till here. You will have to read the lesson again the way I did and mark all the new words that you find in your reader with a pencil, children. Let me explain the lesson for your children till where I have taught. This is a very nice story, children. You all should read. And this is also about the war between the Greeks and the Trojans. I've put up small pictures of the Greek kingdom and the Trojan kingdom. So in those days, what happens if there are two countries fighting? Whichever country wins the war, that particular country takes over the entire country of the one who has lost. So in the same way, the Greek and the Trojans were fighting, and the fight lasted for 10 long years. That is very big. The fight went on, but many soldiers from both the side died, and also the main leaders from both the side died. But unfortunately, the war or the fight would not end, and no one won the war. And if you can see why the Greeks did not win the war, because the Trojans' gate was always closed. The city of the Trojans, the main gate was closed, and these people could not enter into the gate. So then what happened? The Greeks were thinking that somehow they must win over the Trojans. So there was this leader whose name was Ulysses. I put up a picture that's how Ulysses looked, and he was the cleverest among the Greek leaders. So what he did, he came up with a bright idea. Bright idea means he came up with a very good idea. What is it? He called his carpenter and he gave him some instructions. And the carpenter, okay, was busy doing some work in the tent. I put up how a tent looks as well. And the tent was closed. The carpenter was inside doing something, and no one knew what he was doing. After 40 days, on the 41st day, the tent was taken down, which means the tent opened, and to everyone's surprise, what they saw was there stood a huge wooden horse. The carpenter for these 40 days was busy in doing this horse. Then finally, what happened? The Trojans thought that the Greek armies were all gone because there was no sound and there was no one outside. What they saw to their surprise was only this huge horse standing in front of the gate. So what they did was the Trojans slowly opened the gate and they were shocked to see such a big horse standing, but they couldn't find anyone outside. None of the soldiers, the Greek soldiers, were to be seen. So the Trojans were very happy, telling that, oh, we won the war. Even we, when we are scared of someone, and if we see that person passing by, what we will do, we'll go and hide ourselves. In the same way, till that person goes away, we will not come out. But once that person is gone, we will feel so happy, isn't it? In the same way, these Trojans thought that the Greek left their place and they have gone, and these people have won the war. But they were wondering, why did they leave this horse behind, such a huge horse? Why did they first of all bring this horse? And what was the reason behind this? While they were still thinking, one of the Trojan soldier saw a Greek soldier hiding behind the wall. See, I put up a picture of that as well. It must be something he's standing and hiding. So then they caught him and brought him to the king. The king's name was Priam. Okay, so Priam was the king in those days. So he asks him, are you a Greek, isn't it? Are you a Greek soldier, isn't it? So then the soldier said, yes. Then he also says, they are not my people. I hate them. That's why I didn't go with them last night. They all went, but I refused to go because I did not like them. So let's see what happens in the next session, whether this soldier, the soldier who's caught, is telling the truth, or is it a game played by the Greeks? Let's wait and watch what happens in the next class, children. Let's look at some word meanings now. Chieftains, leader of a group. Defeat, win a victory over someone in a battle. Attack, take military action against enemy forces with weapons. Tent, a portable shelter made of cloth. Strange sight, unusual or extraordinary in appearance. Enormous, very large in size. Hate, to dislike someone. Here are some past tense. Sail, sailed. Think, thought. Put, put. It doesn't change. Fight, fought. Bring, brought. Let's move on to grammar. In today's grammar session, we will see what are participles. What is a participle? A participle is a verb which is action word that is acting as an adjective. Adjective means descriptive word. There are two kinds of participles. They are the present participle and the past participle. Let's see what present participle and past participle stand for. Let's see what present participle is. Present participle. A present participle is a word that ends with ing and is formed from a verb and is used as an adjective as well. It's very simple, children. Present participle is nothing but words ending with ing. Now, either to a verb, verb means an action word, or an adjective, which is a describing word. You can take that word, either the verb or an adjective, and add ing to it, and that becomes a present participle. Now let's look at these two examples. The fleeing criminal. Now here the word flee is an adjective. Now to the adjective flee, we have added ing, and so it becomes fleeing. Let's look at the next example. He was waving his cutlass. Now the word wave is a verb. Now to the word wave, we have added ing, and it becomes waving. In the same way, let's look at some more examples so that you can understand it even more better. He is reading a book. The smiling girl is my sister. Mary is interested in reading books. I saw them crossing the street. Don't waste time playing computer games. Don't let him catch you reading his letters. He left the room laughing. Hope you all understood what present participle is, children. Children, let's see what past participle means. We all know that past means something that has already happened and present means something which is happening now. So, in the same way, like how we added words in the end of a verb or an adjective in the present participle, the same way we will add words to a verb or an adjective, but the word will end with either ed, d, t, en or n. Let's look at these two examples first. His painted skin. Now paint is an adjective form. Now to this paint we have added ed and put the sentence into the past participle, which is his painted skin. Let's look at the second example. I have forgotten my lines. The word forget is a verb. Now to that verb we have added en in the end and framed it into a past participle, which is I have forgotten my lines. Now let's look at some more examples and understand it better. Spoken words cannot be revoked. When I came, he had left. This house was built in 1815. I should have finished by the middle of the week. She entered, accompanied by her daughters. I want this text translated by noon. Very clear, children? It's very clear and simple, children. You don't have to get confused at all. Hope you all have understood what present participle and past participle is. So here I have completed the lesson and the grammar definitions for you all, children. Let's quickly summarize all what we have learned today. We learned the Trojan horse, half the lesson. I also did teach you all word meaning, and we learned few past tense. In grammar, we learned about present and past participle. Children, I've taught you all the lesson, that is half the lesson. Okay, and I've also taught you all participles. And now it's questioning time. I'm happy to ask you all questions. Are you all happy to send me the answers? All right, get started then. The first one. How many years did the war go on for? The first question. How many years did the war go on for? The second one. Name the cleverest Greek leader. Name the cleverest Greek leader. Now, what was the carpenter doing inside the tent? What was the carpenter doing inside the tent? The fourth one is, what did the Trojans think when they saw the horse? What did the Trojans think when they saw the horse? Children, now this is a tricky question. You'll have to think, or you'll have to recollect what I taught you all. or go through the video again to get this answer. And the last one is, I want you all to frame a sentence for past participle. I want you all to frame a sentence for past participle. I want something very creative, children. Let's see who is the first person who will give all the answers correct and wants to be appreciated. Let's see, children. And now comes the last part of a session, which is always the assignment. Children, repeatedly, I keep telling you all to listen carefully to what has been said. But I have students still messaging me and calling me and asking, Ma'am, what is the homework? Where should we write the homework? Classwork, whether to be written in the grammar classwork or the English classwork, in spite of giving you all clear instructions, which means that whoever is doing so is not watching the video till the end. My sincere request to all the students is, please watch the video completely, children. Only then you'll be able to understand what I am teaching. You have to make use of this opportunity, children. All right? And let's see what the homework is. Now, in today's homework, you can turn to page 17 in your all-in-one reader. The second main. I'll read the first one for you, which is the A. Fill in the blanks in the following sentences using the phrases given in the box. So you will have to fill in the blanks with the words given in the box. The second one, arrange each of the following groups of words as indicated. The first one, village, city, town, hamlet. Smallest to biggest in the terms of population. So you will have to arrange these words from small to big. Either you can take your parents' help and do it, or you can even browse the net and check which one comes first, children. And please write your homework in the reader itself with your pencils, not with your pen, with your pencils, children. All right. Now coming to the classwork. Now I will be sending notes, that is for the Trojan horse. I will be sending few word meanings and also few question answers, which you will write it as I have written. Do not change anything, children. Please write the way I have written. All right. Hope everything is clear, and I hope you all enjoyed today's class and also have understood thoroughly what was being taught. Until we meet in the next class, this is Ma'am Anna Rajshekar signing off. Please stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.